Hey, this is Eric Hunter here, and today I want to talk about a question I get all the time. What is the best pendulum for pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing? And I'm going to go into my views on that. And so let's get into it. So I've had a lot of experience with pendulums. I've literally tried just about every pendulum there is on the market at one point or another. Um, and I mean, I spent a lot of money on pendulums because I wanted to know like what are the best pendulums, what's good, what's not good for this kind of work that we're doing. Because once you have been doing this for a while, you start to realize it does make a difference what pendulum you use, especially, I mean, it's true for dowsing, but it's also true for pendulum alchemy and healing. So like this is my Toth pendulum. And, you know, a pendulum like this has amazing energy. Like if you're like clairvoyant or clairsentient, you can feel it. You get really great results from it. You know, when you do pendulum alchemy, pendulum healing works. Here's another one, my dome pendulum, another one that has just really amazing energy, you know, really great for doing this kind of work. Here's another one, the purple goddess. It's really good energy. This one has like a Taurus ring around it. The energy, it's really awesome. Here's the Orion, super cool. This is the Archangel Orion one, and you know, really amazing energy. Here's a new one that's not on the market yet. It's a Snake Pendulum 2.0. So I have the old version of it here that I designed. Then here's a newer version that's bigger, has more details. It's still in works. But anyway, so where I'm going with all this is that if you do this for a while, you're going to realize there are differences. The pendulum you use really matters. And some are better than others. So the question is, well, what is the best one? Like people email me, message me, say, okay, I'm going to go buy a pendulum and I want to know what's the best one I should buy. And so I have to show you a diagram explaining my view on this because there is no single best pendulum. And the way I see it is that there are three different grades or levels of pendulum that you can use for pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing work. So at the bottom here in red, these are pendulums that are just totally unsuitable for doing pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing. In the middle, you have green, and those are pendulums that, and I put red for stop, green for go. So these are pendulums that are really solid performers. They're really good, but they're not quite excellent. They're really good though, and you should definitely have these kind of pendulums in your collection. And sometimes they will do the trick. So that's the next level. And then the level above that, these are really high vibration pendulums. The top level, which I made blue-green color. These are super high vibration pendulums that you definitely want to have in your collection if you're doing pendulum alchemy or pendulum healing work. All right, so what's the deal with this? So the red ones, you never want to use a pendulum with a chain on it. The reason why is pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing is involving electromagnetic energy. And electromagnetic energy travels up chains, and you have a hand chakra that's energetically sensitive. And if you hold a pendulum with a chain on it, the energy from the person you're healing can travel right up the chain into your hand chakra and make you sick. And it can be really bad. So you never want to use a chain. Also, the chain itself is like a mini pendulum. It creates its own energy field because it has a geometric shape. And so that's really bad because it interferes with the signal that you're trying to send. So you don't want to have a chain. All right. Now, the next thing is clear crystals are absolutely, you know, you should not use them for this kind of work. Now, people hear this and they're taken aback because they're like, well, wait a minute, aren't like crystals the ultimate? Like, isn't a clear quartz crystal like the best possible thing you could use for healing? And for this kind of work, the answer is no. Because, let me go back to the diagram there. The clear quartz crystal can potentially store energy at the subatomic level. So scientists have found out that crystals like quartz, these are true crystals, especially clear ones, they have little gaps in the molecules, and these gaps have electrons in them. And it can form a binary code basically. These electrons can get a charge when they interact with light on the quantum level. And this charge creates a permanent record of information that can be both stored permanently and transmitted from the crystal once the crystal comes in contact with light. So this, like, for example, they've stored the entire Gutenberg Bible on a crystal. Like they can store like the entire Encyclopedia Britannica, all 20 volumes or whatever, on a crystal. And this storage is permanent. It will last for, like, they said, like 10,000 or 100,000 years before it starts to degrade. So this is a serious problem because with pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing, we are doing work at the subatomic level, at the quantum level. We're using light, there are quantum effects. So potentially the crystal could get information about sickness, illness, or even like good information like a command stored in it that will be transmitted continuously in the presence of light. And this can cause serious problems because when you do a healing on one person and then you go to the next person, you can be transmitting harmful information to them. So this is bad. So now there's a chance that this idea is incorrect, that maybe it doesn't, but there is enough of a risk there. There is enough of a potential to seriously cause harm. Like, could you imagine if you transmitted the code for cancer from one person to another person? That would be a disaster. So there is enough potential there for danger that I strongly recommend you do not use clear crystals in pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing. All right, so now the next one down there in the red zone is a copper pendulum. The shape of that pendulum is really good. Now it does have a chain on it, which is a no-no. But what I have found in my experiments is that copper is extremely deleterious to the human biofield. It is just it's too conductive or something. And when you put it in the human biofield, doing pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing, it causes problems. Now, once again, I know that some of you are going to be up in arms saying, like, I use my copper pyramid or I have my copper bracelet or whatever. I'm not going to address that. You do what you want. But I'm saying is in this work of pendulum alchemy and pendulum healing, my experiments, I have found that copper can be very deleterious and you can cause more harm with good with a copper pendulum. So in summary, pendulums that you never want to use for pendulum alchemy or pendulum healing are any kind of crystal pendulum, especially clear crystal pendulums. You never want to use a copper pendulum. You never want to use a pendulum with a chain. Now, I just want to go back quickly and say one thing about the crystals. You can use mineral pendulums. And most people who are into crystals don't know the difference between a mineral and a crystal. So for example, like serpentine is a mineral. It does not have a true crystalline form, but they sell it in crystal shops. So you can use certain types of quote unquote crystals because not everything they sell in the crystal store is a true crystal. So if you know that it's a mineral, like shungite is not a crystal, it's a mineral. It's made of just carbon atoms. It's not a true crystal. It can't store any memory. It's totally safe to use shungite. Totally safe to use serpentine. There are some things out there that are called crystals by crystal healers that are actually totally safe to use. But if you want to play it safe, just avoid all crystals and never, ever use a clear crystal. Any kind of crystal has any kind of clarity to it, don't use it. Okay, let's move on to the next level here. I think I've made my point about the red zone there. Okay, so the next level, these are the greens. Now, these are sort of the standard pendulums. They're kind of the bread and butter of the pendulum world, the meat and potatoes of the pendulum world. If you're an American, you know what that means. For those of you in other countries, this means it's standard. Like they're good, they're dependable, they're They're workhorses. They'll do everything you need to do, and you should definitely have them. They're not phenomenal though. They don't take it to that next level of energy, but they're still good, and you can do amazing things with them. So if you're a beginner, definitely get one of these. You can find very inexpensive versions made of brass that are really good to use, or you can use wood ones too. If you're advanced, definitely have one of these. Sometimes they do the trick. Okay, so these two styles here, this is the Karnak and the Isis, and there are different variations on these. The key things you're looking for are, is it made of either brass, steel, wood, natural clay? Those are the primary materials that a green pendulum will go. If it has a shape that's similar to one of if you find a pendulum that has a shape that's similar to one of these, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but if it's generally elongated, if it generally has some, markings on it, like little cut marks, it's generally going to be a good pendulum to use. So, and make sure it has a string on it, and it's made of either a metal like brass or stainless steel. It could be a precious metal too. Those are not as common for these kind of pendulums. It could be like gold plated or something. There are wooden versions of these that are good. You can also sometimes get ones made out of natural clay. I used to sell some that were really nice. Natural clay is a good material for a pendulum, for a healing pendulum. And you can make one yourself too. Like this Karnak design is not too hard to make out of clay, for example, or carved wood. So these green pendulums, these are good to go. You should definitely have them in your collection. There are some other styles of them out there. They're all kind of related to this. They're all kind of similar. They're all kind of elongated. They all have these like rings on them, and they usually have some kind of a ball somewhere on them, and they usually come to a point. Those are generally good to go. All right, now go back to the original question. What are the best ones? There is no single best pendulum. There is a class of pendulums, though, that are better than others. And, I design these and I carry them on my website for sale. There are other companies, too, out there that design and carry pendulums that are of similar caliber to these, different ones than because mine are all custom. But there are other companies out there that do make some high vibration pendulums. So, but I'm just going to go over mine since I'm designing these and I just want to show them to you. So here we've got like the purple goddess. We got the moon goddess here. This is the moon tarot card, high priestess. Sorry about the moon tarot high priestess. This is the Akashic records, and this is the Orion. Now, what makes these different than these? All right, so these have a higher level of consciousness. There has been more intention put into their design, and intention is a level of consciousness. So these designs here, they were revolutionary at the time, but they've been around for like 30 years now. They were designed, actually a little longer. They were designed in the 80s. So it's been about 40 years now. They don't go back to ancient Egypt. They were literally designed in the 1980s. So, they've been around, and they just hammered, they just bang these things, now you can get nicer versions that more effort was put into. Like I carry some on my website that are really good examples of these, but they still don't have as high a level of consciousness, these ones at the top, because basically the design is old. Not a lot of thought went into making them, it's just a very routine thing kind of making them. Whereas these ones here, these really require a high level of like awareness to build them. The other thing is they have very specific shapes that are really good in terms of like energy. So some people would generally call that sacred geometry, but it's not, sometimes there is like on some of the ones I carry, there is like a Vesica Pisces design, or the Merkaba pendulum I have is a Merkaba inside of it. That is a true sacred geometry figure. But it's more like I've done experiments with this, other people have done experiments, and certain shapes are really good. So like this one here, the Orion Archangel, it has similar elements to the Isis here, but due to the way that they're shaped, and also in the arrangement of them, so instead of having one ball, there are 3 balls here. And then also the metal, it's made of rhodium, a very high vibration, precious metal. Like, in the past, all religious authorities would have holy instruments made from precious metals because they have a higher vibration. So, the shape, the materials they're made out of, the amount of consciousness it took to make them, because all of these required specialized machining and techniques and design blueprints, make them. This one here, the Akashic, has really elaborate like designs on it. So these are of a higher consciousness level, higher Bovis value. They're, if you're clairvoyant, clairsentient, you feel them way more strongly. So when someone asks me what are the best ones, it's all of these custom ones that are high vibration. Next level would be these, and then the ones to avoid are like these below. So, if you're gonna get the best one, there is no single best one. There are a class of them. And the cool thing is that these ones that are in the upper echelon of this, the top performers, the highest vibration ones, each one is very different. Like this one here, the dome, has completely different energy than this one here, the top. The dome has totally different energy than the Archangel Orion. Each one is completely different, and each one will stimulate a different response. So when you're doing this kind of work, you want to have a wide variety of high vibration pendulums available, because you'll be doing some work, and also those ones in the green level too, like the ices and stuff, because you'll be doing a healing sometimes, and maybe you're not seeing the result that you want. Like you're like, this is pretty good, but it's just not doing it for some reason. You just switch to another one, and then boom, all of a sudden you're getting the result. I've seen that happen, where like I'm doing a healing on somebody, and they're like, this is pretty good, but it's not quite getting in. And then I'll be, okay, well, let's try this one. And they're like, oh yeah, that's doing it. I'm feeling so much better now. Oh my goodness. So that literally, you want to be able to switch. And because energy is so unpredictable, everyone's energy field is different. Every energetic situation is different. Everyone responds differently to these things. You need to have if you're serious about this work and you're doing it a lot, you need to have a wide array of these high vibration, the blue-green ones, and also those green ones, not literally green energy, but, green as in go, like the Isis and the Karnak. You want to have those available in your toolkit so that you can address the different energies that are going to show up in your work. And it's often a matter of intuition. Sometimes it's experience, like, that like one will work better than the others. Like I have this one, the Cosmic Merkaba, that's really good on the chakras. So yes, this one will do great work on the chakras, and you can probably achieve a similar result, but the Merkaba just does it more quickly. It's guaranteed it's going to do something. So some of these even have a niche where they're better than others, but these high vibration ones, they also are very versatile too. So that's another thing. That's another whole topic for a video here. I won't go into that now, but basically summarize here. Let me just summarize this so we can wrap it up. Going really long on this one. Okay. Basically, there are 3 tiers here. There's going to be ones you want to completely avoid. And one I forgot to mention in the completely avoid section is the Osiris pendulum. Please never use an Osiris pendulum. I'll show you a picture of that at the end. There are ones you want to avoid. There are ones that are really solid performers. They're not like over the top outstanding, but they're really good and you want to have them. And then there are these upper level, higher tier ones that are just amazing. You definitely want to have them. And the reason why you want to have a collection of pendulums is because there is no such thing as a single best pendulum. There are going to be some that are super high performers, some that are medium, some that are no-go. But the super high ones and the medium ones, they're very, each one has a different energetic impact. So you can't say that one is universally better than the other. Like you might do a healing with the high priestess here, get a phenomenal result. You might do a healing with the Isis and get a phenomenal result. They both can give you amazing results. Each one has slightly different energies. But if you were going to compare the energies of these to these ones on the top have much better energy than these in the middle. And all 2 levels here have much better energy than the ones on the bottom. So there are different levels of quality, energy. There are different energies, however, so it's not a simple answer that, I'm sure a lot of you wanted to hear. Okay, well, hope this was useful. Thank you for staying with me. If you like this video, please hit like. Please put comments in the section below if you have a question. Also, please check out my website, pendulumalchemy.com. I have lots of high vibration pendulums there. I also have free courses, books, videos, material, and also have a really cool Facebook group. So just check it out. All right, thank you. Have a great day. Bye.